Yeah. Surprise, a little different than you used to. Yeah. Dropping these bars on YouTube, knowledge I introduce you. Yeah. We chasing this money like it's the prize, it's the voodoo. Fugazi, fugazi, it's just a lie we buying into. We need some cars on deck. Get the rollies, get the Moe, all the Mars on deck.
All right, good evening. It's Friday. Hope you guys had an amazing week. It's been busy one on my side here. And this live, I'm not really too sure how I'm going to go about this just yet. But obviously did the video yesterday talking about how I budget and the fact that I pay myself, well, little in terms of a salary. And I talked about how I take money from my business in other forms by way of dividends, for example. So I know that just judging from the comment section, there'll be questions and stuff. And I guess it's spurred on conversation and I guess assumptions as well. So this will just be an opportunity for you guys to ask me a question or any questions that you might have. And I can kind of explain what my thought process is around some of the stuff. And I think one thing I didn't mention in the video, which I think is very important to know, which sounds obvious, but I'm going to state it anyway, is that is my budget based on my personal circumstances. So there is no way that you're going to be able to replicate the exact same thing. That's almost going to be impossible. Why? Because your circumstances are very, very different to mine. And the decisions that you will make and the decisions that you've already made will be wholly different from the decisions that I've made and the decisions that I will continue to make. So for some people, what I do is not going to be perfect. It's not about it being perfect for anybody else apart from me and the household. And I think that's really important for you to focus on as well. You know, it's very easy to get caught up with what you see other people do and trying to transition that into your budget, but you need to find your way of actually doing it. What works for you? And I think that's been one of my consistent messages since the beginning of this channel in 2020. You have to find what works for you. What I shared works for me. And I know there's a lot of curiosity and stuff like that around it in terms of how some of this works. And so, yeah, this is just going to be an opportunity for people to ask questions if you do have any. And I'll try and provide maybe a little bit of insight, maybe some, I guess, I don't know, bits of advice here and there and guidance really to help you guys. There is already a comment in the comment section here that's already made me laugh. Let me just pull this over here. £100 of food. So look, if you've watched the video, I look after all of the bills in my house. So generally speaking, gas, electric, council tax, water, Sky, whatever, all of that kind of stuff. My missus takes care of the food shop, and we do about 100. It's about 100 quid a week, roughly. And there is only two of us. And one of the things that you will notice is that I don't have kids just yet. So obviously, if I had kids, it would be highly unlikely that I'll be able to live on, 1,234 quid. Kids are expensive, right? And especially if you have young kids where childcare and all that kind of stuff comes into it. So, you got to take my budget again with a pinch of salt because it's not going to work for everybody. It works for me. Okay. And one of the things that is really important for me is the fact that annual bills I pay up front. I don't have any debt. I don't have car finance. I don't have credit cards. I don't have overdrafts. I don't have any overdraft facilities that I need to pay down. Those went a very, 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 very long time ago. So because I don't have that drain of I've got to pay for a car, I've got to pay for a loan, I've got to pay for credit cards, that significantly reduces down my outgoings on a monthly basis. And I think that's really important. If anything, that is probably the lesson that I would like to think that people have taken from this entire thing, is the fact that where you can, try as much as you possibly can to really consider debt and how much of a drain it is on income. Because if you can eliminate that, what it allows you to do is to get yourself into a situation where, if you're disciplined enough, that £200 that went on a personal loan, you can then throw that into investing. You can throw that into a fund to start a business. You could throw that into your deposit for your first home. You can use that money for other things. And I learned this the hard way a long time ago. And these are the things that I wish that someone had told me when I was 18, 19 years old. Like, Pete, that credit card that you're going to go open, and you think it's because the bank's looking after you, that isn't the case. And I referenced the book quite a bit in that video because all of this stuff I talk about in my book. What I've just shown in the video yesterday is the physical manifestation of the B part of my basic formula. That's exactly what I've just shown and how it works for me. And so I think there are lessons, and I think look for the lessons that you can take away, not to replicate what I do, because you're never going to be able to replicate that one thing specifically. I know that a lot of people have questioned whether things like Sky are essential. Maybe it's not essential for you, but it's essential for me. I work from home predominantly, and so my Sky includes Sky TV and the internet. So 99 quid for fiber internet for me is a necessity. It's an essential thing. Some people could say, well, it should be a business expense, but I work from home. I choose to put that in my personal finances. I could do it as a business expense, but it just convolutes how I would justify it from a business point of view. So it's in my personal budget. But if I could remove it, I would remove it. But I choose not to at this point in time. So, it is what it is. But let's have a look and see what you guys have got in the comments. All right, just as Zero always does this. Thank you very much for reminding me. If you do get value from this, please make sure that you smash the like button as well. It will just help so that other people get to see the video and maybe get then signposted to the previous video as well. And I did mention at the end of that video yesterday that when you think about the 8 stages of financial freedom or financial independence, everything that I talk about, right, is going to take you through those phases. And I'm on the cusp of 4 and 5. That's where I want to get to right now. And that's what I'm working hard to do. And I think for most people, you're going to be somewhere in that spectrum. You think about 8, that's all uber wealthy. That's the Elon Musk, the Jeff Bezoses of this world. Many of us may never, ever get there. But I think ordinary people in normal day-to-day life, if you have a plan, can get to 4, can get to 5. I think that's really, really achievable, but it's achievable with intent, I should say, with intent. You've got to be really, really intentful around the things that you do. All right, so I completely understand this. I do the same. The next step is property company in the future. That's one thing that I was talking to a colleague of mine with yesterday. Property is going to be on the agenda for me. I've kind of not done it so far, but it is something that I can have a look at. I mean, if I really wanted to achieve, millionaire status, that would be an easy way of doing it. You just go and buy a load of properties with a value of £1 million, and everyone can call themselves a millionaire. That's the reality. That doesn't mean that you're a cash millionaire, is in terms of liquid millionaire, in terms of money available to you. The definition of what a millionaire is gets convoluted on social media, which is why I hate talking about or using the millionaire tag, because it feels intangible, right? Yeah, you have £1 million in debt on property, but you're a property millionaire. You can officially call yourself a millionaire, but you're asset rich, cash poor. And I've come across so many people in that position through my career. Yeah, lots of assets, lots of property, but guess what? They don't want to sell it. They can't sell it. And they've got very little cash available to them. I mean, which would you rather be? Would you rather be asset rich or cash rich? I believe that the balance is probably somewhere in the middle, right? Assets, a little bit of cash, or invested money, capital, potentially. That's where I believe, the line sits. But there you go. Right, let's have a look and see what you guys got. You know what, mate? My missus, she loves her food, and it's all about healthy eating. So there are certain things that she will not compromise on, for example. So, for example, we eat a lot of fish, we have a lot of veg, a lot of fruit, and those kind of things tend to cost a little bit more money. And bearing in mind, there's only 2 of us in the house, right? So, I mean, we live in a 4-bedroom house over 3 floors, effectively. We've got a gym downstairs, and people are asking me, why? What do you have a gym membership? No, I don't have a gym membership. There's a gym downstairs. But she is very, very particular on, she wants healthy foods, healthy produce, that kind of stuff. And that's why the bill is that large on a weekly basis. And we can afford it. And that's one thing that for her, is really, really important. She's very, very fit and health conscious. And she goes, I want to make sure that I have good food going into my body. And that kind of rubs off on me because, she's the one who who takes care of that part of the household, and that's her priority, for sure. So it is a lot of food, but it's a lot of good food. I would like to think anyway. Part one: annual bills are ones that do not impact your credit score, be council tax, car insurance, etc., etc. Council tax. Well, if you don't pay your council tax, potentially it could, because it will get reported if you have like a CCJ, or you have some kind of dispute with the council where you don't pay your council tax. That could potentially impact your credit score. Car insurance, not so much. Well, could it? I mean, if you no, I mean they would just cancel the policy, so not necessarily, but council tax definitely can for sure. Pay up front for council tax and house insurance is smart. We'll implementing this myself very soon. See, so someone did say in the comments, why not just pay it monthly because it's 0%. It's not about the fact that you don't pay any interest on the council tax bill. It just means that from my point of view, I don't have to think about, and I can maintain taking a smaller amount from my business. It's methodical. It's not. I haven't just thought about doing that just because. For me, because I know that it's an annual amount and it's a fixed amount, and I have money set aside for that from previous dividend takes, for example. So what I tend to do with dividends is, when I take a dividend, most of it will either go into some kind of investment or go into supplement my emergency fund if I've used part of it. That's what I do with my dividends. There was a ridiculous comment in the comment section saying, well, what he's not telling you is he's really living on £4,000 to £5,000 a month. I mean, are you crazy? £4,000 to £5,000 a month for what? There's two of us. What am I buying for £4,000 to £5,000 a month? And you would think that this person is like a fly on the wall in my household and can see into my bank account or something like that. It's absolutely mad. And this is the one thing that I think is really important to get across as well. The difference between being financially comfortable and not is about how much you earn and how much you spend. Right. So I've been very open in that video in saying, look, yeah, I take a small amount in salary, but I take dividends. And I've taken one round of dividends this year. Depending on how the business basically goes before April cuts in, I'll probably take another round of dividends. Right. But my outgoings are minuscule. That means that I can retain more money. And again, I talk about this in my book. You can retain more money and therefore invest more money. And guess what you're doing? It means that you're making the money that you're earning, that you're working so hard to earn, you're putting those into positions or putting them in places where you have the ability to grow it and gain financial security. And it's a very, very simple thing that again, we don't get taught this in school. And I can't blame anyone for not understanding or having that click. But it is a really important observation to be made. It is about trying to make sure that what you earn and what you spend from what you earn is as little as possible, so you can use that surplus cash for further things, or even just to enjoy yourself, right? To do the things that you've always wanted to do. If you have a bucket list, you put that money towards that. So you have experiences that, if you're on your deathbed, you can look back and say, I did this. And those will be the things that you're going to remember. And this is one of the things, again, that, when we talk about millionaire status and going after all of these material things, well, what are you going to remember on your deathbed? Are you going to remember, I had 5 properties? So what? What did it do for you? Right? It's subtle things. I honestly, I really do think that we miss the connection, we miss the point with modern social media as it currently is. And I just don't buy into this whole situation of, you need to earn 10 grand to live a good life. That's very, very subjective, I think, in my opinion. I can live a very good life, taking very small for my business, having a nice amount of money put away because of the way in which I take money for my business, and actually planning my expenditure and the things that I want to do based on my life goals. Again, I talk about all of this in the book. And, it's really important for you to be grounded and understand what you want, because at the end of the day, money's a tool. That's all it is. It's nothing more than that. It's nothing more than that. Part 2 here, water, sky, etc. Is it good to pay monthly for your credit score as they reported? Yes, things like that are good to pay on a monthly basis, because it will go. I mean, it has to be classed as one that you would pay. So things that will go on there would definitely be things like car loans, credit cards, Personal loans, for example, will go on there. I don't know whether water and sky are reported in your credit score. I'm on my phone right now. I was going to check on Clear Score. Actually, I might be able to do it here. And if I can do it here, I might actually just share. I never have the right. The book has a whole section on credit scores, what is and what is not reported. And I'm going to be launching a book club fairly shortly, which will deep dive into what this actually means properly. Let me just log in very, very quickly. I did do a live where I kind of went through my credit score and how to improve the kind of indicators that go towards, your credit score and your credit report being positive from a lender's point of view. I've done that before, but let me just have a look and see. And I can't quite remember whether or not things like Sky are actually in on the report of what you actually have. Right, let's go into report here. No, Sky isn't. Sky is not reported. If you have credit cards, it's reported. If you have mortgages, it's reported. If you have things like phone contracts, those are reported. Sky is not on here as being reported as I look at my report right now. I've got Talk Mobile. My mobile phone is like 10 quid a month, something like that. Water gets reported. It's actually in there as a utility on here, but I can't see Sky on here. So again, paying those things on a monthly basis that's obviously important because it will help your credit score for sure. Let me just see where I am. Where did I go? Are you maxing ISA each month as well as that 1,234? No, because I will invest most of the dividends that I take from my business. So I'll be maxing the ISA allowance from dividends that I take from the business. But I only take dividends when I know that my business is in a profitable position, because that's the only time you can take dividends. You can't take dividends if your business is not in profit. So my dividends depending on if I take a snapshot. And one of the key things for me is I treat my business finance like my personal finance. I try to keep my overheads as low as possible. So when I reinvest a lot of the money that I have in my business, it's for a purpose, obviously, but I'm also keeping an eye on profitability in terms of what dividends can I take. Bearing in mind, I've still got to pay corporation tax once that's all said and done. So I maximize ISA allowance from dividends that I actually take from the business, not necessarily from my monthly salary. So I treat that as a separate thing. So when you think about how I structure budgeting in the book, I talk about essentials, non-essentials, then other. The 1,234 gives me my essentials, my non-essentials, and some. My other pot is fed through dividends that I take through the business. And if I ever get into a situation where maybe my business is not profitable, then my other pot potentially suffers. But luckily, through the last 2 years or so, that hasn't been the case. So I've been able to take money from the business, either invest it or use it towards, overpay my mortgage, for example. So recently I paid off last month in August, sorry. In August, I paid off about £46,000 of my mortgage in a lump sum. So some of that goes towards that. But again, I would see that as it's almost an investment, but it's not. It doesn't go into the stock market, but it reduces the debt that I have on my mortgage, therefore saves me on interest, right? So in my head, it's still an investment that is taken from my other pot. And again, it's all about you finding a way for you to be able to structure your finance to be able to, if you're using my system, the 3 buckets of essential, non-essential, and other, finding a way for you to fit your finances across that. And I'm acutely aware that a lot of people that may be watching this channel are not self-employed like I am. So you haven't got the choice of taking income in the way that I do. And that makes it a little bit more, I guess, difficult because you've got a fixed amount, but it could also be to your advantage as well. You might have a fixed pay of X amount per month. Is then just about making sure that you can structure it. Although the tax position may not be as attractive as what I'm able to do. I had someone say that I'm cheating the NHS because of the way that I'm taking my income. And I'm like, if you've ever started a business or run a business, the first thing the accountant tells you is to take an amount to utilize your full personal allowance of 12,570. That's the first thing they tell you to do. So it is what it is. And I don't know, if you want to call me part of the problem, I'll take that as a point of consideration that I won't consider. But there we go. Evening, Dylan. How you doing? Lucas is saying, I respect your choices, but I don't understand how Sky TV is a necessity. It's like saying Netflix is also a necessity. I've already said it. I work from home. It includes my internet. So I can't work or do these live streams if I don't have my internet. So therefore, it's an essential for me. It may not be for you, and it doesn't have to be. Making 10K a month doesn't mean you spend 10K a month. How do people not understand this? That is very, very true. But I think, I don't know. Yeah, I think a lot of social media influence these days just, I don't know, people spout a lot of rubbish, right? And I think sometimes you have to think critically. And sometimes when you speak to people about, money, and it's in an aspirational sense, they don't necessarily think logically about, the work that is required to be able to do that, or the trouble that you can get into in order to, not trouble is in legal trouble, but the internal turmoil that sometimes that you have to go through between the choices that you make and overlooking things like wastage in your budget. Some of that goes out the window. People just think blue sky scenario and don't really think about the actual realities of things. Good evening. How you doing? Welcome to the stream. I've just already done that one. What you saying here? Let me just get to your comment. I'm debt free, however, remain anxious due to understanding mortgage balance, as I hate debt due to outstanding mortgage balance. Look, mate, let me just tell you this, right? If you have no other debts and the only thing that you have is your mortgage, I would say that you're in a pretty good position. I understand that obviously if interest rates, they're going up. I mean, I'm a prime example of this. My mortgage is going to go from the £518 per month to £720 in November because of interest rates. I'm going from a 1.49% fixed rate mortgage to a 4.75% rate. So that represents a £210 increase for me. And I can completely get that an outstanding balance can be unsettling. But I think one of the key things to remember about property is it is an appreciating asset. So it's not like you've got a debt that is costing you money and there's no payback for you. Your property is appreciating in value and you're paying down this debt, and it's a reducing debt as well, as long as you've got a full repayment mortgage. So I would think of it that way. You've got a debt that you're paying down that is reducing in value, but whilst you're paying that down, over the long term, your property is going to increase in value. So actually, it's a good debt to actually have, because ultimately, you're going to get to a point where you own that property outright 100%. And that is going to give you a lot of freedom of choice at some point in the future, depending on what your choices are around whether or not you downsize. Maybe if you've had kids and the kids leave the home, it gives you options effectively. And it gives you the ability to one day just never have to worry about rent. And I think for a lot of people, that's the moment where true freedom kicks in. No debt, no mortgage, and all you have to do is effectively cover your essential bills, your food, gas, your electric, all the things you have to pay for. That is a huge, huge difference. That's where I'm aiming to get to in 2 years' time, which will then, on my part, assuming my business is still going, allow me to accelerate and aggressively invest into the market huge sums of money, because now I don't have anything that I need to cover apart from my essentials. And if I can continue to keep that down, then I'm really building and accelerating, building financial security for the future. So I think you're in a really good position. Personally, I don't think you should feel anxious at all. I know that it's very unsettling at the moment with mortgage rates, but think of it differently. My Virgin Internet was reported. You should go with Virgin, £60 for 1 gig speed. You know what? I have had issues with my internet here, and you guys have probably seen it on the live streams where it sometimes pauses and stuff. Because I'm in the countryside, though, I can't always get reliable providers who are actually out here. Someone has mentioned Virgin, and someone mentioned another firm. I can't remember what they're called now, who apparently have really, really quick speeds. But then again, the speeds that they guarantee is to the wall. And if you're in Ethernet connected, that's fine. But I'm on the top floor of our house, which isn't Ethernet connected. So when it comes to the Wi-Fi transfer of the data, that 1 gig sometimes isn't what you get. I mean, on fiber at the moment, I can't remember what the guarantee to the wall is. It is pretty high. It's pretty up there. But around the house, it doesn't happen. So in this corner of the office, I've actually got one of the boosters that Sky have basically put in. But I've been meaning to change over from Sky, but I just haven't got round to it just yet. Part of me just doesn't want the disruption as well. And I'm a little bit fearful that if I go onto another provider and they can't actually guarantee me the speeds, that I might go from Sky it works 90% of the time, but to eventually go into someone where it doesn't work and then you're locked into a contract where you can't move or can't leave. Yeah, I'm a little bit hesitant from there, but I know that it's something that I should probably look at. And I know I could probably get it a little bit cheaper, but for the time being, I'm comfortable with it where it is. If things change and I have to tighten my belt, then believe me, that would be one of the first things that I would have a look at. I thought it's only loans and credit cards that get reported. No, on your credit score, if you go and have a look at Clear Score, so again, it's a free app. So if you download it, you'll see what actually gets reported under the credit report section. It's very, very insightful. Wilco family took a load of dividends before it crashed. Yeah, I mean, if they were showing profit at the time, then yes, they can. And this is me being cynical, but they would have done that strategically. They would have done that strategically. David, I didn't have time to watch the whole video yet, but did 1,234 cover the Tesla payment, or is the advice to buy the Tesla upfront and not include it as a living expense? I've had my car now it's going to be the 8th year, so I paid it off about 3 years ago. So I own it outright. I don't have any monthly payments on the car. I have been tempted a number of times to upgrade it to go. Well, the thing is, with my car, there's not really much to go to. I mean, it's pretty quick. I've got free supercharging, so I don't even charge the car at home, to be honest. So my £172, which is my gas and my electric, I don't even charge the car at home. So I've got a supercharger 5 miles down the road. So, for example, today I was out in meetings. I charged last night, and that got me to my meetings and got me back home. So if I need to go somewhere, maybe on Sunday, so I'm going to Wembley on Sunday for the NFL, I will charge at the supercharger for free tomorrow to get me down into London, and then I'll charge for free on the way back. So because my car, it has free supercharging for life with the car, me upgrading to another, I don't know, the new Plaid Model S, for example, it doesn't make any sense, because then I've got to start paying for charging at the supercharging station. So for me, it doesn't make any sense. It makes sense to keep the car, which is what I intend to do. I'm going to drive it into the ground. When it doesn't work, then I'll decide whether I move on to something else or not. But I have no car payments. I've got car insurance, obviously, that I pay. But again, it's a yearly cost, so I pay for that up front. It doesn't come out of my monthly budget. I factor that in to the money that I have set aside to pay for that in one go. So, and again, not everyone's going to be in a position where they're going to be able to do that. I mean, pay off their car in one go. I mean, I paid off the car in 2020. Literally, I think it was in about the May or so, and the balloon payment on the car at the time was about 25 grand. So I paid that off in one go at that point in time to own the car outright. But what I would encourage people to do is, if you can, things like car insurance, if you can plan ahead, pay in one go, because you will be charged interest on those kind of things. And just knowing that you haven't got to factor in 100 quid a month into your monthly budget can be quite a good psychological switch. I don't know. It works for me, knowing that I haven't got to pay for, council tax every month. I haven't got to pay for car insurance every month. I haven't got to pay for X, Y, Z, which is a yearly cost every single month. It just means that I can take less, and it's less burden for me. It's less worry for me. And I just, because I've had such a bad relationship with debt in the past, I prefer to just be financially prepared and be proactive, think ahead of things. And I would encourage everyone to do that if you can. It does take time, obviously. It may mean that you need to make some adjustments before you're able to fully do that. But believe me, it just gives you so much. It gives you so much more headspace. You feel like there's less on your shoulders. It gives you a better sense of, I guess, security, which is, I think, what a lot of us are looking for. Do you use Excel sheet to know your ingoings and outgoings? I use an Excel sheet. Yes, I do. And what I will often do is I will download and review. So I'm with Starling Bank, so I'll review all of my direct debits and standing orders, and I pay particular attention to where I might have payments that are on an annual basis. So sometimes, for example, if you have like a subscription, for example, right, and it's an annual payment, like I did this maybe 2 years ago. I went through my personal finances and I looked at all of my annual payments, and there were a couple of things on there I thought, actually, I didn't really use it. I'm not going to use it. Get rid of it. And sometimes you can save yourselves a good few £100s. When I reviewed it this year, there wasn't anything on there, but I regularly will go through my direct debits on my account just to make sure that, okay, am I using that? Did I not use that? Or if I sign up for a trial, well, actually it wasn't any good, cancel it to make sure. And this is something that is worthwhile doing, because a lot of companies now, they've moved away from taking money from your account on a direct debit basis, where they do it from your card. And it's a little sneaky, because if you look at your direct debit list, you get a list of everything you're paying for. However, if it's a car payment, you don't necessarily see it on the list, because it's not a mandate, right? And it's hard to know if you're trying to, sort out your budget and really have an overview of everything that's going out. It can be hard to identify the things that go out on a monthly basis as a card transaction and not a direct debit. So I pay particular attention to what goes out of the account within the statement, and not just in the direct debit portion as well. But I regularly review my stuff, but I do use an Excel sheet, and I use it to track kind of like my investments, what I've got investments, property. So my general net worth, I use it to track that as well. Someone's just saying here, Zero's just saying here, 1 second. I just need to catch up. I know it's just frozen on me here. Zero just saying here, would you pay a lump sum on your mortgage if it was being paid for free effectively? What do you mean? Are you trying to position this as if is being offset by a savings rate, maybe, for example? I mean, for me, look, there are mathematical answers to this. You can run a mathematical equation and be like, okay, what's the best decision to make? But for me, it's all about knowing, actually, I paid off 46 grand off my mortgage. So actually, I'm a little closer to being mortgage free, and having that ability to, in 2 years' time, reassess, okay, look, what do I want to do? What do I want to do? Do I want to continue working at the pace that I'm working? Or do I want to, I don't know, retire 2 days a week and, spend life being a little bit more leisurely? Me being me, I know that that's not going to be the case. I'm a workaholic, so I will probably continue working, but it will allow me to pick the kind of work that I do. And it might be the juncture where I start thinking, well, actually, I want to do something different. I want to venture and do something else that I'm a little bit more interested in, like charitable things, or focusing on, for example, I'm going to do some work with supported living at the moment. I might say I want to lean more into that. It's going to give me more choice. So I think whilst you've got mathematical equations, and I say this on the channel often, what is going to help you sleep best at night? What works best for you? Because even when I was advising, we would sit down with a client and say, look, from a mathematical point of view, if we were to do a comparison of this choice and this choice, this is the best thing for you to do mathematically. That isn't always the right choice. What helps you sleep best at night? And I think for me, overpaying the mortgage and having that peace of mind, actually, you know what? I'm close to being mortgage free in 2 years' time, far outweighs any feeling that I would get from interest on a certain amount of money on at what, 3 or 4 or 5%. It's not even close. And the reality is, you get a lot of behavioral science that comes into this as well. That you start to get to a point where either you have money invested or savings. Once you earn over a certain amount in interest, it doesn't make any difference anymore. You don't feel any happier about it. And that's a really, really difficult and interesting point to kind of manage when you really get into the conversation of it, because that's where you start realizing that actually at some point you earn money, or you start doing certain things with money where it makes no physical or emotional difference to you at all. And that's where you start thinking about, actually, there are bigger things that are worthwhile thinking about and prioritizing over that. And I've learned that from speaking and working with clients, and I've certainly learned it in my own personal finances as well. And I guess everyone has to go on their journey to understand that, but I think, me talking about it hopefully kind of puts it in the forefront of your mind. Any tips for looking as attractive as possible for remortgaging going from employed to self-employed? I've got 50 months to get my stuff together. Okay, cool. Right. So you've already got a track record, which is good. Okay. So under the mortgage charter that was launched a few months back by the government, as long as you don't missed any payments, you should be okay because they shouldn't be doing any real affordability checks on you as long as you've not missed any payments to date. So it should be relatively simple, assuming you stay with your existing provider. Okay. Assuming you stay with your existing provider. If you don't really want to open up to the whole of market, it's really, really important for you to kind of understand a couple of things. First, are you employed or self-employed in your business? So if you're employed by, so if you're, I'm a limited company, so I'm employed by my business as the director. So I take a salary, but I'm taking a small amount in salary. Now, if I were to take that small amount and say I wanted to borrow £200,000 for a mortgage, I don't have the income to prove, right? So what you want to be paying attention to, and you want to work with an accountant on this, you want to start thinking about, right, what is my mortgage outstanding? What do I need to borrow on the remortgage? So what's the outstanding part of your bond? And do you have enough income just to justify that? Now, if you're taking salary and dividends, some providers like it, some providers don't. So this is where you're going to need a mortgage advisor to be able to help you whittle out those that won't consider dividends, for example, and those that will. But you need to work with your accountant to figure out, okay, how much do you need to show being taken as an income, be that a salary solely or a combination of salary and dividends for you to be able to meet the criteria from a mortgage point of view. You've got 15 months, plenty of time to do it, but hopefully you've got an accountant. If you don't have an accountant, you should definitely find one because you need them to be able to crunch the numbers for you. Because when you're doing your returns or your self-assessment, it's what goes into those documents that's going to be most important from a mortgage lender's point of view, particularly if you go from your provider. So if you're with Halifax now and you found a better deal with, I don't know, Barclays, they're going to want to see that. So work with an accountant if you haven't already got one, mate. Right. Instead of Wi-Fi, use powerline adapters, Ethernet speeds with a built-in Wi-Fi connector as well. Eliminates the problem that being on a different floor to your router. I've already tried that, mate. Didn't make any difference whatsoever. So I've been trying to figure out whether that's a Sky thing or whether that's just, I don't know, it doesn't work, which is why they put a router, a booster in the office here, because that seems to be the most effective way to get the speed that I need from the Wi-Fi. But again, I don't know whether that's a just a Wi-Fi thing or whether that's a Sky thing, which is one of the things why I'm a little bit reticent of going from Sky to maybe someone else, and then it doesn't actually give me the coverage that I need. So it's a little difficult at the moment. But I've tried the power line adapters, and they did work. But this seems to be a little bit more effective, although it's not perfect. I don't live in London on this budget. Hell no. No, 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 no. I don't live in London on this budget. I live in I live in the Midlands. I live in Shropshire. So, yeah, clearly the prices are very, very different. If you, and again, this is why you should take my budget with a pinch of salt, because depending on where you live in the country is going to look very, very different. Because let's face it, if you're renting, you'll be lucky if you can get a rent if you're on your own in London for the amount that I'm taking as a salary. If you're up in the Midlands or somewhere else up north, then yeah, very, very different, right? But yeah, I'm not in London. So take that with a pinch of salt, really. That's why it's always difficult when, and sometimes why I'm reticent to make these videos, because I don't want people to be like, I'm going to try and copy that, because you're never going to be able to copy it directly. What's your opinion on Lockbox? And is there any other services that also do the same as Lockbox to boost my credit score? Because I'm stoozing with a madman at the moment. Lockbox, a credit improvement. Experian had their a credit boost thing, which gave you a boost to your credit score. I think it was only momentarily though. I don't know that ClearScore has anything like that. But Lockbox is pretty good in helping you build your credit score over a period of time. What I would say though is there are, and again, I talk about this in my book, right? So, I mean, the QR code here you can scan if you haven't already picked it up. It is available as an audiobook as well. But the chapter, which is the last chapter, so my the book goes through a basic formula, and basic is basically an acronym, really. So it stands for budgeting, being the B, avoid debt, save early, invest, and the last one, which is C, is about credit scores. And I talk about what actually goes into your credit score and how you can identify the bits in your credit score that might be working against you. So there are very very simple things that you can do. So for example, things like making sure that you're on the electoral roll, that will give you a boost pretty much immediately. If you have like CCJs and ca- uh, uh, debt kind of like orders, debt relief orders, those kind of things, then that's a little bit more problematic because they stay on your record for like 5 to 6 years. So if you do have CCJs, unfortunately, you're going to have to clear them. If you have missed payments, they're going to stay on your record, but it's not as severe as having CCJs or debt relief orders and things of that nature. But if it's a simple case of actually you've had no issues with debt, you've kept up with your payments, and you're just trying to give yourself a boost, then simple things like um, electoral role will give you a boost immediately. Because if you think about it, I explain this in the book. If you think about it from a lender's point of view, they just want to know that if they needed to find you, they could find you. And the electoral role gives them a history, a snapshot of has this person always lived in one place for an extended period of time, or have they upped and jumped from different places, like 5 different places in the last 2 years? If that is the case, they're going to be a little bit more cautious about lending you money, as anyone would be, because they're like, they hopscotch around. Maybe we might lend them money, they might do a run it. They just want to make sure you're not going to abscond. So things like the electoral roll, where they can evidence say, oh, they lived at this address for 2 years, and they were at this address for 5 years. That tells them that you're not likely to just hop around and just disappear, basically. And it's not always, perfect all the time, but it gives them a data point which goes into the much larger picture. But there's lots of things that you can do as quick wins. But Experian does have the Experian boost, which gives you a boost, which could be purchased if you're looking to, apply for something eminently. You can boost your credit score within a short period of time. But then again, it depends on what credit reference agencies the lenders that you're approaching use. And I talk about this in the book as well. There are three. There's Equifax, there's Experian, and there's TransUnion. So if you go and apply for a loan with Barclays, for example, you might boost it with Experian. But if they don't use Experian as one of the engines to search for you and look at your credit report, and they use, say, Equifax, for example, there's no point. So what I generally say is, if you can, try and get your report from all three, because sometimes they will have different versions of information about you on file at each of those different reference agencies. And again, I talk about all of this in the book. It's there with some tips and stuff like that as well. But maybe have a look at the Experian Boost and some other things. But I don't know of any other companies like Lockbox off the top of my head that does that. If pre-corporation tax dividends are taken, all shareholders have to pay it back if there's no profit by the end of the year. That's right. Yes. So that's why I'm always very, very careful of, I treat my business finance like my personal finance. I try not to spend money on things that are, not essential. And I always try and make sure that, the business is in good health. So I'd rather keep more money in the business than is needed than to rip out money from the business and live it large, because effectively the business is what I'm trying to build, right? The business funds me. So if I look after the business and as an extension of that, have my own personal finances locked down profitably, that makes the business run a little bit easier, because I'm not desperate for the business to do this for me to survive. And I think for self-employed people who own their own business, that is a key consideration that a lot of people miss. I have friends who've been in business for a number of years, and I still, for the life of me, cannot understand why, as a business owner, you would not pre-plan for your corporation tax. I don't understand it, and I know so many people who don't. They don't pre-plan for their VAT. They don't pre-plan for their corporation tax. They don't pre-plan anything. So when it comes along, it's like, oh, all of a sudden I've got to find 25K because I've got my corporation tax bill due in a couple of months' time. And it's like you're then working to pay that bill off. But that's making it even worse because you've got to pay corporation tax on the amount that you're working for right now the following tax year to make ends meet. So like I said, I treat my business finance like my personal finance. And if my business is healthy, my personal finance is healthy, vice versa. Those two things go hand in hand. And so for me, I keep a lot of cash in the business, I reinvest, but I do bear that in mind in the fact that I do have other obligations, corporation tax, VAT that I need to take control of. And I don't want to feel under financial pressure, be it for my business or my personal finances. You know, someone made a ridiculous comment in the comments about, I must have been cacking myself in 2020. Like you were fly on the wall. I paid off my car in 2020 from personal cash of 25K. Like that's money that I have. I've always been able to, I've cultivated a practice that has allowed me to have a good pot of money to be able to access at any given time for emergencies and stuff. Because my background being homeless, my biggest fear is I never want to be homeless again. And the reality is for many people, you're probably one paycheck away from losing your home, being homeless. That's where most people are. I've learned the hard way. So I do everything within my power from a financial point of view to make sure that I have a nice financial cushion. And for me, through my business, I don't owe any debt personally or from a business point of view. My business is self-sustaining. I have no business debt. I don't even have a business overdraft. I don't need one. I don't want one. So that's how I choose to run my own personal finances. That gives me a sense of security. And I'm not saying that that's exactly what you should do, but I think a lot of people would like to be in a position where they have a sense of financial security. And I think for what I do, maybe there are some lessons that people can take and try and replicate. You're not going to get it perfect just like I have. I mean, my budget is not perfect. There are areas that I could improve. I could reduce my Sky bill and my internet bill, probably. But I'm okay at the moment. If things were to completely fall apart and I had to really, really tighten my belt, then I would. But I'm not budgeting to the point where it's restrictive for me. It's not. If someone asks me on Instagram, do you feel that you can live a good life based on the amount of money that you're taking from the business? Because I'm taking a small amount from the business doesn't mean that I don't do the things that I enjoy. I have a good pot of money on instant access available. I've got good pots of money across different areas. I can access a significant amount of money if I needed to for any purpose. And so if I do plan for maybe holidays or so, yeah, I've got a pot of money I can take that from, but it's being pre-planned for. And that is separate to my monthly budget because it does not impact the amount that I take as a salary. That's my financial cushion that I built over a number of years. And it's taken practice and discipline to do that. Aaron's just asking here, hi P, what's your view on gym membership? I pay £30 a month, but I know to pay for a while. A year is better value. I've been going 4 days a week on average for the past 12 months. Look, so I've got a gym downstairs in the house, but I've also got an external gym membership as well, which I paid up front. It was actually pretty cheap. It was a new gym opening up locally. It was £120 a month. So where my former neighbors, people like Tak, for example, and Carl, they were like, "Oh, let's get together and go to the gym." I will go to the gym with them, but I've got a gym downstairs in the house, so there's nothing wrong with having a gym membership, mate. I mean, if as long as you can afford it on a monthly basis, that's the most important thing. As long as it's not going to stretch you, would it make better sense for you to pay it in one go yearly? Yeah, if you can afford it, but if not, there's nothing wrong with paying it monthly, mate. It's what works for you. If it puts you under financial pressure, try to avoid it. If it doesn't and you're comfortable, that's completely fine. If you're paying interest on the monthly installments, then maybe that's something that's worthwhile thinking about. How much extra is it costing you? If you can afford to pay for it in one go, pay for it in one go because you're saving yourself money. You're not giving your money away to a company for no reason at all. So it's personal finance. What works for you personally. The person above Lockbox is an okay company. Monet's Bank is also a credit builder option, which is decent too. Thanks for that, Zero, because I didn't know about Money's. Thank you very much. Loopy Loo, I'm self-employed. I have enough saved in emergency funds for a year. Fantastic. A 5% interest rate. Have 3K left on a mortgage. Should I pay off mortgage with savings or keep paying monthly? Only a small monthly payment. Look, dude. Oh my god, that is so amazing. I love reading comments like this. I love reading comments like this because you're in pretty decent shape and you're self-employed as well. Look, if you've got 3K left on the mortgage, man, just pay it off. Just imagine how that's gonna feel. That's gonna feel amazing. And the thing is, you could cycle back your monthly payments that would have gone to the mortgage to get you back to £3,000 if you really, really wanted to. I mean, I would just be so tempted. Me personally, I would just be so tempted to get rid of it and be like, I've got zero. Because I think the minute you get to that point where there's no more mortgage, I think it's just going to be like a massive. You should celebrate. You should pop a glass of a bottle of champagne. You definitely should. I think it's just going to make you feel brilliant. Me personally, I would pay it off. I'd just be like, you know what, just get it gone. Just let it go. But that's an amazing place to be, and that is inspiring for me because that's where I want to be in 2 years' time. That's the goal. Yeah, man, this is really good, Lou. Thanks. Already done that one. Let me just see where I am. Let me just scroll quickly. Okay, I'm almost through most of the comments on here. Do you have any views on van life? I know loads of people leaving rented accommodation to do this. I think there's a lot of unexpected cost. You may go away over budget. Seems more people doing this. You know what? I would love at some point. I'm not quite there just yet. I would love to get out a van and just go traveling. I would only do it if I went traveling, though. To be honest, I love driving. I love going to different places. We go to Stelvio every other year. It's amazing, man. I would love to do that. I would definitely do it if I was able to travel. But I think the idea of it looks attractive, but you do need to think about the cost. You've got to think about the cost of the van, maintenance, fuel, obviously, and just decking it out and kitting it out so you're comfortable, I guess. I wouldn't go into a van just to substitute living in a house. I wouldn't do that. I need space. I need a decent bed. I personally couldn't do it, but I would do it if I had the opportunity to perhaps, drive around Europe, for example, 100%, or drive around America, 100%, because that for me ticks a massive box in terms of travel. Someone saying a mesh setup would set up a solid Wi-Fi signal all over your home. It will work with whatever router you have, so not dependent on IS. Okay, let me just jot this down. I don't know how I would do that, but there is a I'm sure there's a YouTube video which will tell me how to do that. Mesh setup for Wi-Fi. Cheers for that, mate. I will look into that. Thank you very, very much indeed. Someone's saying I've never had. Let's have a look. I've never had debit, credit cards, and a few direct debits. You have the perfect credit score on Experian. Does this sound right? Is there any explanation for this? I've never had debt, credit cards, or few direct debits. It depends, mate. I mean, because a lot of the data that goes into your credit score. So, for example, if you do have like your utility bills that you're paying on a monthly basis, and there are no missed payments there, that could lead to you having a perfect credit score. Things like your electoral roll, your age, your occupation, your income also goes into your credit score as well. So there are more factors than just your payment history and your debt history, whether you've defaulted or whether you've had any debt at all. It's building an overall picture. So in the book, I liken it to your digital avatar. So if you picture you and all of your financial decisions, it's a version of you in digital form that builds your personality, your decisions, what you're like from a financial point of view. And a lot of that and some of that will be your salary, what you do for a living, how you've kept up with your utility bills, whether you're on the electoral roll, so on and so forth. It's hard to know for sure without actually seeing it, but there's a lot more that goes into it than just your direct debits and whatever debts that you might have had, or whether you've had credit cards or not. I use a high interest savings account to save and budget for accountancy and tax bills. Yes, 100%. At least you're getting a good return for the money that you're putting aside. I know people who will put things like their self-assessment, so their tax bill, who are self-employed, they'll put it into NSI premium bonds. which is good, tax free. If they get a win, even better, right? Because it's a little bit of profit for them that they get, and it's tax free. So really good shout there. I've worked bloody hard to get there. I can imagine. Listen, oh, right there, that is a dream. That's really inspiring. And look, when you do pay it off, please do let me know, because it would just be amazing to celebrate with you, honestly. And you should definitely, when you pay it off, crack open a bottle of champagne and yeah, just sit there and just think about it. Will be wonderful. Wonderful. And I guarantee you, it will give you a completely different view of what you want to do moving forward. That's what I've heard from people clients that I've worked with who have been in that same position, said it gives you different perspective. That's what I look forward to as well. And I'm sure that you'll enjoy it. So, well done. Congratulations. I've been watching many of your videos recently as I'm turning 18 soon and want to get my finances under control by the time. Appreciate it, mate. Listen, you're 18. You're smarter than I was when I was 18, mate. I was not looking at finances. The fact that you are and you're taking interest in it means that you're onto a winning streak already. The one thing I would say to you, mate, is think about the small things that you can do, small habits you can develop. I talk about this in my book, especially under the save early part of the formula. One thing that I wish someone told me when I got my first job was, when you get paid, whether it's 5%, 10%, 1%, it doesn't matter what it is. If you can do 10% perfect, take 10%, put it into a savings account, or better yet, invest it. And if you can cultivate the habit of 10% every single month, you're 18 now, you might only be earning, say, 1,500 quid, and that's £150 going into it. But you fast forward 5 years when you're 23, and now you're earning 2.5 grand a month. All of a sudden, you're putting away 250 quid. And if it's investing, it's compounding over time. You're going to get to my age, 43 right now, and you're going to have a significant pot of money that will allow you choices. Even in your, maybe if you hit 30, you will have a decent amount of money, which you can then go and say, actually, you know what? I'm going to use this as a deposit for a property, or I'm going to use it for a business. I'm going to use it for whatever. Focus on what small habit can you cultivate, because small things compound over time. So what's the one small thing you can implement and really make sure you focus and make sure it's repeatable, right? Repetition is most important. What's the one thing you can do? Because that is what's going to put you on the path to success for sure. And again, I wish I was as smart as you when I was 18, but I just wasn't. Exactly what Dylan just said here. Imagine the compounding over 50 years plus, mate, is mad. And I encourage you, just sit down with your pay slip and just look at what you're earning. And look, do me a favor. You just type in compound interest calculator online. Yeah. Just type that in and then take your salary, 10%, 5%, 3%. Just take a percentage, a low percentage of it, pop that into the compound interest calculator, put, I don't know, 25 years on it. And let's just be really cautious and say a 5 or 7% return. Go with 5, actually. Go with a 5% return and look at how much that adds up to over 25 years. Mate, you will be astonished. You'll be absolutely astonished. And that's why I say little things. Starting at 18, mate, a lot of things that you're going to see on social media right now will be talking about being a millionaire and making a load of money, right? Trust me, if you start early at 18, doing what I've just said there, by the time you get to retirement, you have a huge chance of hitting £1 million. Easy. But it's all about making sure that the habit sticks. Repetition. And the sooner you start, the better your chances of making that happen. So you're already you're already onto a winner, mate. But just really think about that and do the calculations. And you're going to be exposed to a lot of stuff on social media, right? Be discerning as well. Be discerning. But ultimately, whatever you do, because you will experiment, you may say, I want to do this or try that. That's fine. But don't, if you can, forget that one thing I've just told you. Do whatever else you want to do. Experiment wherever you want to go, but make sure you keep that one thing going. That's your backup plan. through your career, you're going to earn a lot of money in work, or you might create a business that's worth millions of quid, whatever, right? But that pot of money is always going to be there, just helping you compound and increasing your wealth over time. And again, it's something I wish someone told me when I was 18, 19 years old. Bear me one second. I know I've just frozen. I'm just trying to catch up with where I am. Where are we on time? Oh, we're 59 minutes. We're about an hour in. Okay. Oh, thanks for this, mate. You know what? Dave Ramsey is really, really good. I think Dave Ramsey's style is very American. But like I said, look, at the end of the day, guys, I'm not here to gaslight anyone. I'm not here to talk about things that I don't do myself. Maybe one of the things that I have been guilty of is I don't share enough of what I do personally, and that really is for a reason. Um, because to a certain extent, I don't want to, especially when it comes to investing, I don't want to influence people to copy what I do because it's the right thing for me, and you have to find the right thing for you. But with things like budgeting, where it's very, very subjective, some people will get the point, some people will just completely miss the point. I'm more concerned about the people who actually get the point. But in everything that I talk about, I'm not talking about it because I watched another YouTube video that says this and it's great and they get a load of views. I'm not saying it because of that. It's because I have implemented all of this in my own personal journey. I don't talk about stuff that I don't understand. I don't talk about stuff that I don't do myself. It's not about that, right? It's about me sharing my knowledge, my experiences, certainly for my 15-year career, because I want to help people make better decisions that I wish that I had made when I was 18, 19, 20 years old. That's what the whole reason why I started this channel, to have conversations with people that I wish someone had with me when I was in my 20s and 21s. It's not about hyperbole. It's not about showing off. It's not about any of that. I don't talk about, Rolexes and fast cars, and I do very, very nice things. But what's the point? I don't want to attract people because they feel that, oh my God, this channel is going to make me rich. What is rich? It's subjective, right? I want people who are able to take something, implement it, and just understand and are willing to understand the theory behind it. And it's hard on YouTube because it is a lot of clickbait. It is a lot of hyperbole. At this year, I'm dragging this channel by my bootstraps to a higher subscriber count. It's difficult. It's hard. But sometimes you take a slow path to success, and I can definitely say that my path to success has been hard fought, even personally and career wise. It does take a lot of work, and good things do take time. And I think that's really the moral of the story. Good things take time. And if you are able to use your time wisely, make the right choices in the time that you have, that's the path to success, really. And that's what I genuinely believe. And that's my mantra at the end of the day. It's not to show off and to be, you know, all freaking, I've got a Rolex, I drive a Tesla, I've got this much money, and I made this much money. It's not about any of that. It's just about me sharing what I've learned and part of what I do, so that other people can take inspiration from it. That's what it's all about. It's a crime that compound interest is not taught in GCSE maths. Okay, so this is one thing that I do want to end on. Should have done this at the beginning. Um, about 3 months ago, I was invited into Parliament to speak to some MPs about financial education in schools. I'm going to have an episode of the podcast coming out in maybe a week or two's time. And I'm going to be asking people to go and sign the petition that we have lobbied for in Parliament to make financial education compulsory in primary school. So I'm working with Go Henry on this. The petition isn't out yet. We're waiting for the confirmation of the petition date. But effectively, this is what's up. We need 100,000 signatures on this thing for them to actually debate it in Parliament. If we don't get 100,000 signatures, it doesn't happen. So on this topic of it should be taught in GCSE maths, well, actually, it needs to be taught in primary school. So this is where I will ask you guys blatantly, I need your help. When the episode comes out or is due to come out, I will do like a YouTube short or something like that, asking you for help. And this is the ask. please sign it and please share it with somebody else for them to share it and sign it, because we need 100,000 signatures. If we don't get 100,000 signatures, for me, it will be a failure. If we get 100,000 signatures, we can at least move the dial. And we have spoken extensively with MPs around, okay, what needs to happen? How do we fund this? There is money available in the ether. We've suggested it needs to come from there. I'm also working with another organization as well around this as well. This is one thing that I'm really passionate about changing. So that episode on the podcast will come out maybe in a week, maybe 2 or 3. I will keep you guys updated. But on this note of what we're teaching our kids in school, this is really, really important. The thing that really, I guess, I won't say frustrates me, but worries me with this episode coming out is, on this video yesterday is one of my best performing, because I've gone into detail to pique, I guess, people's curiosity. When I bring this video out on the podcast, I'll be lucky if it gets 1,000 views. And that's just the reality of it, because of the nature of the YouTube algorithm and so on and so forth, and now how my channel is classified. So I really do need your guys' help to make sure that you pay attention to the episode, and more importantly, you sign the petition and share it, because again, we need 100,000 signatures. If we don't get that, we've got no chance in moving that needle. So please just pay attention to the channel. I'll let you know when it's out, but it's a really important piece of work, and one that I'm really, really passionate about. And I know I've been speaking about this on the channel now for the past 2 years at least. We're at the cusp, and yes, it is the first step, but if we don't succeed in this first step, it's going to be dead in the water. So I really, really need your help with this, guys. So thank you. All right. Okay. Lots of comments in here. Let me just see where I am. Bear me 1 second. Where was I? Oh my God. So many comments have just literally just popped in. Here we go. Okay, cool. Yeah, there's a conversation about compound interest calculators, playing with those. That's good. Okay, someone's just asking here on mortgages. Rachel, when I'm remortgaging, can I put £50,000 towards a new deal to save money? What do you mean exactly? I mean, so if you've got a mortgage, right, and let's just say you owe 200 grand, you can pay off 50 grand to reduce your balance down to £150,000, which means that you'll save money on your monthly repayments and interest. You can definitely do that if that's what you mean. And I think that's what you mean. So yeah, you can. You can make a lump sum into the mortgage. I will just pay attention though. You probably need to ask your mortgage lender what the maximum overpayment you can make on your mortgage before early repayment charges start to kick in. Because for a lot of providers, it's 10% per year. So if you've got £200,000 in that example, you'd only be able to pay off 20 grand before charges start to kick in. But there may be, like, you're at the end of your mortgage rate. There may be, if you speak to them to say, look, I want to go on this deal, but can you delay it for like a week so you can make that £50,000 lump sum, and then remortgage on to the £150,000, for example. So speak to your provider and see what they say, but you can make a payment, a lump sum payment into your mortgage to reduce the amount that you'll pay monthly and also your interest, and it will save you money that way for sure. All right, Colin. Okay, this is going to be a long live. I'll keep going until I get to the bottom of these. So 1 second. And again, if you have got value from this, by the way, it will be amazing if you could smash the like button. We've got 17 right now. There's 41 of you on here. I know that people have come and gone, but if you could smash the like button, it will be great. It just means that other people will also get recommended this video at some point as well. Right, so where am I? Where is my mouse? My mouse is here. Let's have a look at this. How you doing? Slightly different one. What is your experience on working your way up in a company and staying motivated to work towards a position, or knowing when to switch roles? Really good question, mate. I mean, in my working career when I was in corporate, the fastest that I've moved through the ranks was probably in Canary Wharf. So in 2012, I started as a telephone boy. So I was literally just making phone calls, and my job was to bring in business on the phones. And I went from that role into the executive team of the company, which is a Fortune 100 company. So it's one of the top 100 companies in the world. I did that in a 5 year span. So I'd say I've got a lot of experience in the corporate space in that regard. If I had to give you any advice, I think, it would be a case of, first and foremost, do not make any mistakes about the value that you bring to the business. And a lot of companies will try and gaslight you. A lot of companies will make you feel as though you're not valuable. But if you are able to demonstrably demonstrate, this is the value to the business that I bring and how I contribute to this business, it gives you more bargaining power. And I'll give you an example of how this worked for me. So I was passed upon a promotion 3 times. I was the best guy on the sales floor. My numbers were among the best, top 2, top 3, and they gave the jobs to people who they felt were better suited on a social component. And I won't go into the details of that. Very controversial on a social component. And for me, when they told me no the second time, I said, listen, the opportunity that I'm going for will mean that I'm willing to move anywhere in the country for this opportunity, because I knew that I could earn a lot of money in that role because I was already successful on the phone. I could do it face to face. I had great relationships on the phone. And I actually said to my manager, I said, listen, okay, so this is the second time. You need to tell me what I need to work on. So when the job comes up again, I'll go away, tick those boxes. And if you don't give it to me the third time and I can demonstrate that I've ticked those boxes, I'm going elsewhere. And by the way, this is how much business I bought in over the past 4 years. So I was with the company for 5 years, and I was responsible for about 120 million pounds worth in business. I knew my value. And that's really, really important for you to know. And the reality is, mate, if they don't see it and you spell it out to them like that, well, then it's time for you to jump ship, because you need to go somewhere where you're going to be valued. And that's just the truth of the matter. If they don't see the value in you, move somewhere else and find someone who will give you the value. And when you're doing that, take your demonstration, your demonstrable record of the value you've delivered. These are the projects I've worked on. This is what I've delivered. This is what it's meant for the bottom line of the company. You're going to have to go through data to be able to provide that. Things like your reviews. If you had positive reviews, you bring that to the table. That's what I did. I'm top 3, top 1 most of the time. You're telling me that I'm not qualified for this job based on what? I brought in this much business, more than 95%, 98% of the people in the business. These are my reviews. You give them evidence to say that you're the best person for the job, and it's their choice. And if they make that choice, they automatically make the choice for you, mate. That's my advice. When will we meet Mrs. P? Maybe at some point. Maybe at some point. I mean, look, I intentionally try and keep that side kind of like separate and stuff. I don't know. She's she grounds me more than anything else. She's brilliant. She's awesome. She's absolutely amazing. She really, really is. She's my grounding. She really, really does help me kind of like relax and not go too crazy. I'm a workaholic first and foremost. I'm really, really ambitious. And she's the one who kind of says, what's this all for? I'm going through therapy right now. And that's one thing that my therapist is saying. Okay, you're working and doing all this stuff, but why? What for? And it's that constant reminder that there is more than just work. And my workaholic tendencies come from the fact that I'm just scared of being homeless again. I don't ever want that to happen again. And so I work to ensure that I have the security that I need. And what she reminds me of often, and my therapist reminds me of now, is you have to enjoy some of that stuff as well. So yeah, I mean, that's maybe at one point you will. If you follow on Instagram, you've probably seen her in the background in some reels. But yeah, maybe at some point. Any more TV work coming up? There's nothing on the horizon right now. There's a couple of things. My agent asked me about something for a news channel yesterday. There might be some stuff on Steph's Pack Lunch. to come. They've asked me for a couple of dates, but I don't have anything concrete right now. I'm potentially going to be working on a big project next year for this channel, which I'm actually quite excited about, but it's going to take a lot of work. And so I'll leave that under wraps for now. You guys will find out once I have a concrete plan, but it's very, very exciting. And man, I wanted to do something like this for ages, and if we can pull it off, it's going to be so sick. So yeah, I'll keep you guys posted on that. You said £120 a month is cheap for you said £120 a month is a cheap gym membership. I didn't say that. I said if you so I have a gym membership for £120. It was for the year. I'd never said £120 was cheap a month. And again, that's subjective because it depends on how much you earn. If you're taking home 10 grand a month and that's your net, £120 a month is cheap for you. If you're taking home 1,500 quid, then £120 a month isn't cheap, clearly. So, what is cheap and what isn't cheap is completely relative based on circumstances. But I didn't say £120 a month is cheap at all. I've got a gym downstairs in the house, and I have a gym membership for a new gym that opened up last year, and that was £10 a month. I paid that off in one go, so that equals to 120 quid. Maybe that's what you were thinking of, but I didn't say £120 a month is cheap for a gym membership. But it could be if you're earning 5, 6, 7 grand, 8 grand a month. And again, it's all about what do you get for it. 120 quid, but if you enjoy swimming or you enjoy the sauna, you've got it in there. You might say, actually, I don't mind it. Value and cost are two very different things sometimes. I've got a niece and 2 nephews. I would love them to get a financial education in school. Hey, listen, that's what we're fighting for. So it would be really, really great if we could have some support on that petition when it gets launched. It's been very informative. Thank you very much. And there's a lot of people talking about the financial education piece. So thank you guys. We appreciate it. Okay, I think I've got to the end of all of the comments. Thank you very much, Denise. Appreciate you. Kevin, just as we've got off. I don't know how long you've been here for, mate. But we're just about to log off now. But I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much, and thanks for all the engagement on the video yesterday. I think of more ideas that might be useful and insightful. Again, look, if you have ideas or things that you want to see, then by all means, let me know in the comments. And if I think it's something that I can do, I'll definitely look at getting that done for you as well. But I appreciate you. If you haven't already smashed the like button, please do that before you leave. And if you are new, you might be new, you might have stayed for the full 1 hour, 16 minutes. If you haven't subscribed already, please consider subscribing too. But guys, it's Saturday. It's Saturday tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your weekends. I will catch you. 1 second. Where am I? Yeah. All right. I'll catch you later on. Have a good weekend. Cheers.
Yeah. Surprise, a little different than you used to. Dropping these bars on YouTube. Knowledge I introduce you. We chasing this money like it's the prize. It's the voodoo. Fugazi, it's just a lie we buying into. We need some cars on deck. Get the rollies, get the Moe, all the Mars on deck. We got the traders, got the picture with the Bentley in Dubai. Are you dripping in designer looking fly? On the bombardier, sipping on the wine. Broke man, we broke. Where's the fun in being broke? Stocks and bonds get you yoked. That's what I'm teaching these folks. I see that smoke, see them choke. Getting coked. While I'm researching these stocks, buying coke. 20 months on the channel, million people taking note. I got a warrant for Buffet. I'm coming for his vote.